Welcome. We're here with Ryan Parker from Family Search. How are you doing today?
Great to be here.
Great. Okay. So tell me a little bit about what you do for Family Search.
So I'm the product manager for the homepage, and what that is, that's the first page you come to when you come to Family Search. So if you type in FamilySearch.org, that's the page you see. I also do the logged in homepage, and so when you log in, you see a different experience, which is more personalized for you. And there's some other things that our team does as well. We do the header footer, which is the header is the part on the top, the navigation part, and then the footer is all the things you see at the bottom, like the navigation to the about page and the blog and things like that. So that's what our team does.
Perfect. Okay. And how long have you been at Family Search? Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, let's see. So I came to Family Search. Wow, it's been almost 5 years ago. So it was 5 years ago in November. And so before that, I was living in Alabama, and I got the job and moved here to Utah to take the job with Family Search.
Okay. And I'm trying to think. Okay. And then, you didn't have a family history background or anything like that, right? It's more.
No, actually, I'm embarrassed to say that I never did any family history before I came to Family Search. And so everything I learned about family history, I learned when I came here. And so I'm really glad I did, because it's been a great experience to learn about family history and about my own family. So
You've kind of had a chance to deep dive since you've joined their team.
yes, not all at once, but over the last 5 years, I think I've gotten deeper and deeper. I understand it, a lot of it now, and I've learned a lot about family history.
And do you have a favorite family history story, or like your favorite way to connect?
I do have a favorite way to connect.
Okay.
Those are two different things, but
They are.
my favorite family history story from my own family. Well, it's actually my wife's family. So when I got a job with Family Search, everyone thinks you're a family history expert, which I wasn't, but people assume you are because you work there. And so my wife's parents said, like, hey, we've always been interested in family history. We'd like to learn some. Would you help us with that? And I said, sure. And so I had some skills, and plus I had some coworkers that knew how to do family history, so they helped me. And my father-in-law, he didn't know much about his grandfather's side.
Okay.
And so I did some research on that, and came back with some of the things I found. And I said, there's some really interesting things. One thing, for instance, your great-great-grandfather served in the Civil War. He fought for the Union side and was in the New York Company or whatever it was. And he's like, wow. I said, I didn't even know that. And I'm like, yeah, that's really great. And I showed him the record of his pension. So he was entitled to a pension after the Civil War. And he said, that's really amazing. I can't believe that happened. He was really excited by that. And I said, that's the good news. The bad news is 2 years after he was discharged, and he was honorably discharged. And so he served well for the country, and he was honorably discharged. But 2 years later, he was incarcerated for assault in the New York State prison for 2 years. And he said, oh no. But then he said, and I thought this was really interesting, he said, I bet he probably had a lot of PTSD from the war, and that probably caused him to be angry, and maybe led to some of the assault that caused him to be incarcerated. And it was like a really good experience for me, because I just learned that, we find that we're actually pretty forgiving of our ancestors, because we understand that sometimes things happen, and sometimes life causes us to do things that we don't necessarily want to. Like my wife's great-great-great-grandfather probably did have some PTSD. And it's interesting to see that his descendants aren't angry at him but they're understanding. And it just helped me remember that we are all in this together, and that we can be forgiving of each other. And it made me hopeful that my kids someday will give me a pass on some of the things that I didn't do perfectly. So that's probably my favorite story from family history.
Isn't that interesting how, when you start seeing the background or the full picture of everyone's lives, you can start saying, oh, well, crazy Aunt Betty had a reason to be crazy. So,
right.
Maybe she wasn't so crazy. She was actually logical.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny, because then it expands to not just your family, but to your friends and other people that you know, right? Like you become less quick to judge once you like see people's family history and family story. And then you realize like some of my friends and people I know, I don't know their life story. I don't know what causes them to do some things. And so I think it makes you less judgmental.
That is so true. Okay. So that's your favorite way to connect, right? Or is that your favorite?
That's my favorite story.
Okay, so what's your connection then? What's your favorite way to connect?
Well, it's one of my products. Do you want me to go there right now, or do you want to talk about something?
Let's do that. Do you want me to share?
If you don't mind sharing the homepage. Okay, so this is the homepage of FamilySearch, and we actually just redid it about a year ago, and it's been really successful too. I really like it, and we've done a bunch of testing with it. When I ask people, what is that photo at the top? What is happening there? And almost everybody says, that looks like it's a photo of that boy's grandfather or someone when he was a boy. And I'm like, yes, it actually is. So this photo was from a photo shoot we did in Spain. And so this boy is in Spain, and that's a picture of his grandfather. And you can tell because they look alike, right? Like you can see the resemblance. And I think it's really powerful because when a lot of people are getting started with family history, they don't know what they expect to find, right? They say, what is family history? Well, family history is learning who you are and those that came before you. And when you learn who they are, you actually learn that they're a lot like you. And a lot of times they even look like you. And so that's a really powerful image to help people start to understand what we mean by family history when they come to FamilySearch. But the part I want to show you is this next part. We actually added this shortly after we launched the new homepage. And what this is, it just allows you to search for one ancestor. But what we found is that when people would search for an ancestor, a lot of times they didn't even know any information. So we have like a lot of things right here. We have you put your first and last name or maiden name and birthplace and birth year and death place and death year. And a lot of people don't even know those information about their ancestors.
Yeah, you think I'm done, can't go anywhere.
Right. So it's like a ton of stuff. In fact, you'd be surprised how many people have a difficulty telling us what their grandmother's maiden name was, right? Like it's just not, we just don't have that information. And so after testing this a bunch, we found that a lot of people would know, obviously they know their own last name, and they would know their mother's maiden name or their own maiden name, and they'd want to search those. So we actually narrowed this down to just one field. And so this is familysearch.org/surname. And it's also in languages. So there's the full URL. But when you come to this page, it just has one field, and that's your last name. And so you just put in your last name. So in this case, I could put in my last name. And it tells you just a few things. And the things that it tells you are the occupation of your, the meaning of your surname, where it came from. In my case, Parker were people who took care of medieval game parks. So I thought they were like car parkers, but apparently not. And then it shows you, and this is the part that's really compelling. It shows you the top 3 countries where your name comes from. And these names are what we have in our tree. So we have a very large shared family tree at FamilySearch. It's got over 1 billion people in it.
Wow.
Yeah. And so there's a good chance that some of your ancestors are in there. And there's certainly a lot of people with your surname in there. And sometimes there's a lot, sometimes there's few, depending on how common your surname is. But what we found is that people really are interested in this information. And so they want to share it. And then we have the ability to share that information on Facebook or WhatsApp, or you can just download an infographic that has that information. I guess I'm not sharing that, so I won't show that. But and the reason it's interesting is because you don't have to have a lot of information. You don't have to go collect data about your ancestors to search for them. And we released this, and it's gone viral a number of times on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, and most recently on Twitter. So we had a big viral outbreak on Twitter about a month ago, and thousands of people tweeted the results of their surname. And so if you look through here, you can see people just saying these things about their family. And so sometimes they have a good experience, sometimes they don't, and sometimes they already knew. So this person's like, wow, who would have thought? But there's literally thousands and thousands of tweets that people just share their experience finding something about their surname. And so this is my favorite experience for people, because you don't have to have a lot of information and you get to know a little bit about yourself. Well, there was one tweet of a lady that she had a Chinese surname, and the top countries were, number one was China, as you expect. Number two was Taiwan. And then number three was Italy. And there were 63 people in the tree with her surname. And it was kind of a not common Chinese surname. And she's like, who are these 63 people in Italy with my surname? And she wanted to find that out. And I think sometimes just having a little start of like, where would I even look, or who else is out there with my information, is just good to know. So that's probably my favorite experience that we've created at FamilySearch.
Yeah, I just put my maiden name on there, and there's 30 people in Australia with the last name Mollenhauer. Like, my family like was in Australia. I'm kind of curious now to see where they're at.
That's not a common surname, Mollenhauer.
Yeah.
Where's that from originally?
I think it actually was Moldenhauer in Germany, but my ancestors came over early 1900s.
Okay.
So they're not too far back, but only 390 in all of the United States. So,
wow. So that's pretty rare.
Yeah, I need to go dig some more, because I know they all came over to Illinois. A lot of them came over, and then they just kind of dispersed to San Francisco and everywhere else. But that's fun. I don't think I ever did my maiden name in here. But
yeah, so it's funny because we have the same experience. So one of the tweets I saw, so a lot of things interesting in the tweets, it hit groups of friends. So like one friend would do it, then all the friends would do it, and they would share with each other. So one lady was like,
without getting wet.
right. And one lady was like, wow, my name is so rare. And she had like 3 people in Sweden that had her surname, in our tree at least. And then like 2 in the US, and then 1 in like Finland. And then her friend replied, that's not the case for me. And her last name was like Jones, and there was like 1 million people or whatever. So we kind of the same way. Parker's is super common, and yours not so common. So
yeah, my married name is Gardner, so that's super like, I'm like,
right.
Maybe related. I don't know, but most likely. Yeah. So very cool. Okay, and you designed this part, right? This is
that's our team that built this part right here. So, and like I said, it came from learning from our first part, which was the deep search, and we realized that like we needed a simple search and way to get started. So
very cool, very cool. Yeah, those are fun little aha hits. And then what else can you build next? I mean, are you guys working on another idea based off of this?
We are, yeah. So I can give a little sneak preview, which is that so we have this part down here, which is search for a specific person afterwards. And so let me just put one of my ancestors in there. Now that I know who they are, I didn't know who they were 5 years ago, but and so we come to this page right here, which this was the first page that we built, and then it has people in our tree that actually have that name. And so in this case, this actually is my 3rd great grandfather, and he's in the tree. But sometimes it's not in the first page of results, and then you have to page through a little bit if we have them in our tree. And then we also show you, if we don't have them in the tree, we also, a lot of times we'll have them in historical records, which are old documents, like birth certificates or things like that. And so we show a little preview of records that have that. And so this is like a really simple version of it, and sometimes it's a little bit confusing for people. So we're making a lot better search that people will be able to search for someone specific, and we'll help them along the way of like going from their surname to finding their first information about a relative. So that's what's coming.
Very cool. Hold on real quick. Hey, sweetheart, I'm doing an interview. Okay, go away. Just hide in my room. I'm so kidding.
Yeah. And this is live.
Of course, they come in right then.
It's real. We promise. You can tell.
At least it's not a naked child or anything.
That's right.
So, okay, very awesome. Because that's the funnest part, is when you start getting into the records and everything, and can start tying things together. Okay, and is there anything else that you've developed on the FamilySearch page?
There are, but you probably wouldn't care to see them. It's probably a little boring for you. So
okay, just making sure I catch all the fun stuff and the super intriguing stuff. Because I mean, all of it, like there's so many things on there that you hit and you're like, oh wow, I didn't know this I could take me here now, or could do this, or
Yeah. Well, actually, I could show you one more thing. We actually just launched this part where we talk about how we're nonprofit and free. And the reason for that is because we have always said create a free account, and people didn't realize that we were actually truly free. They would say like, okay, well, how long is it free for? How long is the free trial for? And we'd say, oh, we say actually there's no free trial. It goes on forever. And they'd say, oh, okay, so like how much do I get in the free tier? And then if I pay for a premium tier, what more do I get? And we'd say, no, it's like it's always free and you get everything for free. And people just were solely surprised by that. And they're like, well, how do you afford to build this site with it being free? And we say, well, because it's a nonprofit and donors and sponsoring institutions pay for it. And so that we just added this section right here to help people understand that's free, and it's tested really well. People are like, oh, I get it. It's just like Wikipedia, right? I don't pay for Wikipedia and I use it all the time. How is Wikipedia free? Well, because it's a nonprofit and people donate to support it. And so that's the most recent section that we added.
That's cool. Yeah, because that's one of the main reasons why we refer to a lot to FamilySearch, is because it is free and
Right.
something that all the participants can use without having to feel like they're pulling out their wallet the whole
Right. Right. And like I said, how is it free? It's free because it's nonprofit. There's generous donors that donate to make this free. So
that is very cool. And I mean, it's because of stuff like that that we can all start connecting more and stuff on there.
right.
Yeah. Okay. Let me make sure I got all my questions. I know I had another one. I wrote them down ahead of time to make sure. How have you connected with your family during the pandemic?
So great question. Here's what's interesting. So I'm actually one of 6 children. So I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. And today with modern technology like phones and email and chat, you think you would talk to each other a lot, but you don't. And one thing that's the nice thing about the pandemic is you're stuck at home more and you feel isolated more. At least I do. I'm an extrovert, and so I get tired of being at home all the time and just kind of feel isolated. And so I think the pandemic has really helped me reach out to other people. And so I actually called my sister who lives in California, and we had a really long talk during the pandemic. And I realized like, wow, it's been a long time since I've talked to her. She's my youngest sister. It's been a long time since I've had that kind of conversation with her. And I found a lot of other things that were going on in her life and some of the things that she's struggling with. And I think that, in a lot of ways, the pandemic has been hard. But the one thing that's been beneficial to me is that it's given me an opportunity to remember those I don't always connect with and call them. And so I've called some old friends. I've called, like I said, even my own family, my brothers and sisters that I don't talk to as much. And so that's kind of been the best part about the pandemic, I guess, if there is a good part. So
it's just giving some time to everybody. Like, that's where I'm like, if everyone's freaking out about not having anything to do, you got lots to do.
Right.
There's plenty of things. Okay, do we have any questions? Okay, do you work on the page after you log in?
No. Yes, I do. So that's called the logged in homepage, that's what we call it. That was actually the first thing that I worked on when we got here. So when I came here almost 5 years ago, we worked on it, and I think we launched it about 4 years ago. And the goal of that page was to make it personalized, because before it was just generic. You would log in and it would say, here's what FamilySearch is and how you do some things. But now when you log in, we show you, we call them memories, which are like photos and stories.
You want
and
to show it, or can you show it?
Yeah. Let's show it. Let's look at it. Okay, so this is my logged in homepage, and everyone's will look differently than mine. And the reason why is because this column on the left, this is what we call the memories feed. And this shows photos, stories, documents that people have added to ancestors in your tree. So your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents. I probably don't have your parents because it doesn't show living people. And so anytime when anyone adds a new photo or story in your tree, you'll see it pop up on your feed, and that way you can just kind of see the work that others people have been doing. That's the nice thing about FamilySearch. It's the shared tree, and so you don't have to do all the work yourself. You just have to connect to it, and then you can see all the work that other people are doing, and then you can see how you're related to the people in the photo. So if you say view relationship, so this is my grandpa's aunt, and that's how that works. And then these are recommended tasks. These are record hints that you can do. So one of my ancestors has a baptism record, another one has a marriage record, and so again, this will be personalized just to you.
And I love that. They're super easy to do for a quick 5 minutes that day.
Yes. If you don't want to do a lot of research, you're just like, what can I do quickly right now? This is like a great thing to do. There's other recommended tasks based on your tree. Like, for example, if you're missing some people, it'll prompt you to put them in there. It'll show you where there's holes in your tree. And so there's lots of just different ones. And like, it just depends on you, what you'll see. And then we also keep track of the people that you recently visited, so you can get back to them. That's recent people. And then there's a to-do list that you can add items.
Oh, that's your own personalized to-do list? Like you can make your own?
Yeah. So you can say,
that was there.
Do call sister or something. And then you just click add, and then it shows up. And then once you're complete with it, you mark it as completed. If you want to see the ones you've completed, you can look at them or you can delete them.
Because then you can see if you did it or not, or remember to put it on there.
Yeah. And like I said, the goal of this was to make it personalized so that it was actually meaningful to you and it wasn't just generic information. So everyone will see something different based on what's in their tree. And this is just what mine looks like. So
very cool. And the recent people I love too, because if you start going down a rabbit hole down one side of the family and then you're like, where is that name?
Right. And it keeps good, and you can keep growing it so you can see all the people that you've looked at recently. So
very cool. Awesome. Which of these tools is live now and which are not?
All of them are live right now.
Okay. So
yep.
No hidden surprises. You can all get to everything.
Yep.
Okay. Very cool. And how many people are in the tree?
How many people are in the tree? Okay, well, it's growing all the time. And so last I heard, there were like 1.2 billion people in the tree. Like I said, that's growing all the time. We have about 70,000 new registrations every single week of new people, and they come and they add on average 9 people their first time they come in. And so the tree is always growing and expanding. And then as people do work with genealogical records and add more people to the tree. So yeah, so there's over 1 billion right now. So
so can you guys tell where people are coming from that are registering, like in the world?
Absolutely.
Where is it really like high registration coming in from right now? Do you know?
So it depends, right? Like, so for example, this viral surge of Twitter, this was mostly in North America, and then it was also big in France. But we had a viral surge of Twitter in July from Brazil, and so we had hundreds of thousands of people coming from Brazil in early July. And so it's like, it just depends. Like certain people get excited. Brazil, people don't know this, is really into genealogy and family history. They have, just like we have TV shows like Who Do You Think You Are or Finding Your Roots or whatever. They have genealogy TV shows over there. And so, they come from all over the world.
I didn't know they did there. I mean, I just learned Australia had a bunch of shows. So I was like, oh, and they sound fascinating.
Yeah.
So
actually for this experience, this surname experience, number 1 is the US. Number 2 is Brazil. Number 3, I think, is Argentina. Because I was just looking at this. Number 4 is I can't remember, but there's only one English-speaking country in the top 5, and that's the United States. And so, yeah, it literally comes from all over the world.
Okay, and just before we wrap up, okay, so let's see. Where do you find this page when you get to
FamilySearch.org/surname.
Okay,
and you'll get to this page.
And then the
Right.
other tools you showed us are once you log in, that's what your screen's going to look like. If you're brand new, it probably won't be very populated until you start.
Fill out your tree. But when you're brand new, your recommended tasks will give you things you can do to start filling out your tree to have success. So this will guide you. It probably won't have record hints like mine, but it will have steps to help guide you for your next thing to do.
Awesome. And let me just make sure I got all the questions. Okay. Is this being recorded? Yes, Kathleen, this is being recorded. And can't access it online. You can't access FamilySearch. You can't access the recording. I'll make sure you get it. I'll send it to your private message if I can. So, all right. Is there anything else you want to leave us with? Any tips?
Yeah, I would just say, so actually I was recently this last year I went to Central America, I went to Guatemala, and I went to Brazil, and we interviewed a lot of people about their motivations for connecting to family. Because most people, they don't say words like family history or genealogy. They talk about connecting to family. And the answers is usually they don't say it's because I want to see historical records. They don't use those words. What they say is they want to feel connected, right? They want to feel like they're part of something. And one thing I've learned that that's a universal human desire. And so the surname is like the first thing that you can come and have this experience and say you are connected to other people. There's many people that have your surname. They're around the world, and as you learn about where you came from, where your family's from, it makes you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself, and it's really calming and peaceful. And so I would encourage people who haven't started or haven't learned a little bit about themselves to do so, because you'll feel connected and it'll bring you happiness.
Awesome. And one last question. Are there new features coming down the pipeline that we should be getting excited about?
The answer is always, yeah, there's always new features coming down the pipeline. In fact, if you log in regularly, you'll see them. I told you a little bit about what's coming in from the home team, but there's many new features coming. So yeah, stay tuned.
Awesome. Awesome. And what campaigns are coming up the rest of the year and into 2021? Anything with the Mayflower next month?
You have to ask someone else.
Another team, right?
Yeah, that's another team. But I did find out that I have no Mayflower relatives. I only have 3 great-great-grandparents that were born in the United States, and none of them are Mayflower descendants. So if they do, it won't help me, but there may be. I don't know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us. And yeah, we'll look forward to hearing you guys. Wait, one more thing.
Okay, great. It's great being here.
Okay, so we're
all right. We'll see.
With tools again, one more time. So FamilySearch.org
/surname.
Surnames, okay, and then you have the home page. After you log in, you can get to that other screen, like all the recommended tools, any connected stories or events people are logging on, and past people. And right. I think that's it.
It's surname, not surnames.
Surname. One S.
There's no S. Yeah.
Yeah, one S at the beginning, not at the end.
Right.
There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Hold on. Where's my fancy stuff? Hold on.